Thank you very much, Sue. That was a wonderful journey through Queen's Park and around Australia in many ways, and through a life of challenges. I wonder whether Richard and Sue would take a few questions. Either you can come up here if you like to use the speaker, but if there's some questions, please, if anyone's got a question for Richard or Sue. Aunt Shirley's gone home because of the impending bad weather, so she can't take any questions. Anybody? I guess, please, Councillor Boylan.
I'm just to Dr. Sue Gordon, if you could just tell us what is the Healing Centre? I mean, what's it all about? What does it mean? It sounds intriguing, but what is it?
Well, I don't actually know. It's the younger Sister Kate's kids. They're just in the middle of setting up their foundation, and obviously they'll have to come through council. I believe that the Healing Centre will be a place where they'll invite academics and others to come in to help with some healing programs, and by that Hannah McGlade, who is a lawyer, she was a lecturer at Murdoch. Hannah's been to Canada, and I think she's brought back some ideas from Canada with the First Peoples up there, and I think it's to take the form of counselling of people and other methods of healing. But the way that older home kids, Sister Kate's kids, heal ourselves is through the various trips that we do and the get-togethers we have. So we might go away on a bus trip and have an overnight, so we'll have a good meal, a few charges, and go and see the wildflowers and just all have a good time together. And just getting together and spending a day together is a great way to heal, because you're all on the same level, and you're talking about your past. We talk about growing up, and I'll give you the best example of that healing is we went to the 100th anniversary of the Queen's Park Primary School. I think it was 2005, and I gave a talk on behalf of the Sister Kate's kids, and one man came up to me later and he said, "It was an institution. We thought it was a boarding school. We used to love coming there to play with you." See, so even then, people didn't understand what was happening to us. They just thought these kids were in a boarding school.
Any other questions, please? I guess I might ask the really simple one, which is, what can the city do more for the local community, the local Aboriginal community? There has been obviously some things over the years, but part of our challenge as we go through the process of the community plan is to talk more with different groups and try.
Well, at a national level, one of the things that I was pushing was to try and I suppose I've been on a board with Ricky, the CEO of Walga, Walga, whatever you call it, WA Local Government Association, and would like to see the various councils around Australia encourage more local Aboriginal people to stand. Across Australia, we've had a lot of Aboriginal Shire presidents, we've had quite a few Aboriginal councillors, but not enough. Because I see it as a way of Aboriginal people in the community who are capable of being on the council and contributing, and break down some of those barriers, local barriers. And you can see, I mean, even in Halls Creek, when Josie Farah was the Shire President up there, people never thought anything of it, because the bulk of the people in Halls Creek are blackfellas. But down here, whitefellas are more than blackfellas. And it would sometimes feel odd, I suppose. So I just think council should be encouraging more Aboriginal people to stand for council, not just a single person, one or two. Although, sadly too, I know, and I won't say it wasn't this council, but I do know of a couple of councils who, when Aboriginal peoples decided to stand, various factors in this country town pooled their numbers against this person and encouraged everyone not to vote for the blackfella. And that's quite sad, really. I mean, as Shirley said, we all live here, and things have changed remarkably, and we really have to get past all of that and break down those barriers, because it's the barriers that are put up by individuals without thinking about it. And we had enough barriers as kids. We don't need any more.
Richard, have you got a comment around that?
Trying to think of a short one.
You spoke the shortest earlier.
Shortest one, yeah.
So you don't think the longest ago.
There's a number of things. First of all, look at your own constitution, what you want, and your guidelines, how you operate. What are your guidelines? And you find that is inclusive of the community. Yet when we talk about Aboriginal issues, we put that on a side, not as inclusive. I think it should be all inclusive first. That's the first thing. Forget about Aboriginal, Italian, German, French, whatever it may be. We as a people, and the two difference between the cultures is, and Sue would know this quite well, and most of you would do on a council with things like responsibilities and the legislation laws that you operate under, is that the Western world operates from looking at the weakest links. So you'll cover all corners in case someone starts a fire or do something silly. You look at whatever the silliest person can do and you'll cover that in the law. Whereas in our society we used to look towards the ones who can actually achieve that you try to aspire to. So there was two different ways of operating. So our councils were made up of not those who can break the law, but those who actually uphold stuff. So that those who did then transgress were actually isolated and were felt to be isolated in that way. So I think, like Sue was saying, to get to know how you as a council can improve your own operations and say, well, let's look at some of the Indigenous knowledge and science that's behind some of the practice that's been for thousands of years. We may be able to incorporate into our practice rather than saying, well, we've got it right. Because you judge a society on its two big buildings. Any society can be judged on its two big buildings. And the biggest buildings in most societies and in most towns and most cities are the hospitals and jails. And if you come from a society that didn't have either of those, there must be something that society can contribute to the mental well-being of a society. Because it's your mental well-being that actually stops a lot of the prison system, your mental well-being that actually gets you into your health, and we talk the well-being centres. We were around our well-being centre. Our well-being centres were our family and our existence. That was a well-being centre. And like Sue's saying, you take someone away from that well-being centre and you've got a lot of fences to mend to actually get back to that place. And like Auntie Shirley, I was very lucky to be brought up in the bush and brought up with my family. But my older brother was a part of Sister Kate's, and I didn't meet him till I was 22. Yet every Saturday, not every Saturday, sorry, about 5 Saturdays a year, I'd go up to Sister Kate's, me and my mum in a taxi with a bag full of lollies and a bag full of clothes to see my brother on a Saturday. And we never ever saw him, because they'd always say he's gone away. On a Sunday, they used to dress him up after I spoke and told him, your parents are coming today to see you. And of course, they knew we weren't going to be there on a Sunday because we were there on a Saturday all day. That's the sort of thing they did with my brother. It took me 5 years to convince him that he was taken away, not given away. 5 years. So we were very angry. There may be this calmness and diplomacy around it, but there's also a lot of anger amongst our people, amongst our young people. Very, very angry. Because I can tell you these stories, you'd go, wow, I didn't know about that. Our people are living that. That's why we have a lot of the antisocial behaviour. There's a lot of anger out there. We must address that anger. It's not been addressed by building bigger jails and more jails. There is a way of looking at it in the community of readdressing people's well-being and their balance. And that's not just an Aboriginal thing. It can work for everyone. It is an Aboriginal method, but if it's incorporated into the society, it's for all of us. And if you go back long enough, you'd say it's not only the Aboriginal people had this, lots of other societies had it as well. The Celts had it in there. There's people in different parts of Asia at it. There's different parts of the world. A lot of the ancient practices were exactly about that, about respect, balance and well-being. And I think that, that's something that the council can actually look at. It's a big picture, but like Sue and I, we're talking about here, we are big picture people. I was on the Australia Centenary Federation Council looking at how we can do things in the big picture. Because whilst we've got that umbrella view, then small things into place, like Auntie Shirley says, talking to people, saying hello, looking at everyday issues makes a big difference. Simply serving someone because they were the first ones in the shop. We have a number of times that we've been looked upon, people behind us to be served for us because they didn't realise, you know, the Aboriginal people, how to relate to them. So there's a lot of these issues that are simple things, but I think councils now have also are very mature, and they're also looking at ways of improving themselves within their communities, which is really good. And this is a great example. You're a long way down the road by actually speaking and addressing the issues.
Yeah.
And other councils will take notice of this sort of stuff, and you say to them, this is what we got from it. And I think that's very important, because when we peel away the other things, what we're talking about is the differences now. We've got a lot of things we can put in common, whether we're Dockers or Eagles. We have those debates amongst family and amongst friends. We do have those, whether we like curries or the chickens or the pork. So there are things that we can have in common, that we can divide ourselves up, and I'll be with a group, and my sister Gwen will be in a group, and Sister Gordon will be with, Sue will be in a group over here. That we have differences as well, but we'll be more common with you in those likes and dislikes in case. And those are sort of things, like we're saying, by getting on councils and getting people into the system, as Sue was saying, that you start to realise, hang on, I can talk to these people about more than just the Aboriginal issue. But we can address that while we're doing this and incorporate some of the Aboriginal philosophy.